Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
What's with this mild man, wild man thing? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of.
Joe Giammatteo.
Michaels obviously likes the icing.
Obviously.
I wonder if it was cream icing.
Yeah. I'm glad we're all on the same page there. I tried to get a couple good cream jokes in, too. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one episode of Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on July 22nd, 1996. This Raw was recorded at the Key Arena in Seattle, Washington, and features Vince McMahon, Jerry the King Lawler, and a couple guests on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. Tonight, just off the shores of the Puget Sound in Seattle, it's Monday Night Raw. Vince was very whimsical going into this one. To kick things off, we get Sunny and the Smoking Guns coming down to ringside. For once, the Guns are being allowed to wear their titles, but that's because Sunny's got a cake that she's wheeling down to ringside. For the record, right off the bat here, I was predicting that Sunny would end up wearing that cake. We will see if that comes true or not. And according to commentary, we might have new tag team champions tonight. If you all remember back to oh so long ago, as in last night at the International Incident pay-per-view, there was word that Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson would be taking on the tag team champions here, and it looks like that's where we might start off. This episode was already throwing me off because it wasn't matching the match card that I had found online, but I said, fuck it, we're going to roll with it, and we're going to go into our first match of the night. Wait, never mind. As the Guns attack from behind, the bell never even gets rung. But that doesn't stop Shawn Michaels from ringing Billy Gunn's bell with some sweet chin music. Billy is knocked out, and this match is a non-starter. That birthday cake was for Shawn Michaels, apparently, as well as the fabulous Moolah. Her name gets dropped there. And that is what Sunny had been using to distract Shawn at the start of things, allowing the Smoking Guns to get that backstab in. But now that the Guns have been neutralized, Shawn can have a little fun with the cake. Shawn gets a dollop of icing on his finger and smears it on Sunny's nose. And I got the feeling that that's not the first time Shawn creamed Sunny's face. But Sunny will not let that aggression stand, and as she goes to throw the cake at Shawn, Ahmed is behind her to smash that cake into her face, as well as her cleavage. Shawn then goes in for some icing, causing Vince to roar, "Shawn likes the icing!" And not once, but twice, Shawn face dives into Sunny's icing-smeared face. Sunny is not amused as she hops up and down. Shawn is definitely amused as he prances a second there in the ring and poses for his pyro with a face covered in icing. And that's more or less the end of what kind of ended up being its own segment here. Guys, I was thrown off, but came around pretty quickly here, and even though it's not a match, it's definitely a notable segment unto itself. Joe, please, what did you think of Sunny getting double-teamed for a creamy finish?
Oh, man. Well, Sunny certainly is a smoking gun, isn't she? She's falling out of that Smoking Gun's top and getting covered in cream.
Chris was thrilled.
Shenanigans, guys. That's all this was.
Yep.
Shawn's striptease got cut short, so I'm sure Vince was not happy about that, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a match later. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, pretty entertaining segment. I thought we were going to have a match too, but they switched it up on us. At first, when the match looked like it might start, I thought a birthday cake to distract someone was a pretty lame trap. Of course, that's not at all why the cake was out here. The sole reason of the cake was to make sure we got to see a nice cream-covered Sonny is the whole reason that the cake was out here. And we got that. Shawn Michaels got to bury his face into the icing a couple times. He had his fun. And fun segment.
What's that Vince said a couple weeks ago? What does sex have to do with Monday Night Raw?
Nothing.
What does cake have to do with a match? And what does Shawn's tongue have to do with Sonny's ear multiple times? That's sure as hell what it looked like. Well, after that segment, we had to cut to commercial and come back to slow motion replays of what just happened. Billy Gunn did a great job of selling that sweet chin music. I'm not sure if you guys noticed that during this the slow-mo replay, but the way he sold it the whole way down to the mat. But, I mean, that's not the main point here. The main point is, Sonny, oh my goodness, yes, covered in cake. It's Michael's birthday after all. Why not have a kiss? Because that's sexual assault, brother. I thought that maybe someone there at the arena had hit like the wrong audio cue or something. Because, I mean, this is a sports arena we're in. But as it turns out, it's actually just entrance music for our first match of the night. Marc Mero with Sable defeats the Goon by pinfall in 7 minutes and 14 seconds. And guess what, everybody? The Goon is our jobber of the week. Take it, Ryan.
Thank you, Jason. The Goon is this week's jobber. The Goon was born Barney William Irwin on September 17th, 1954 in Pecos, Texas. He trained under Scott Irwin and Larry Sharp. Oh. Irwin made his debut in 1979 for the National Wrestling Alliance of the Central States Territory. Bill has used the ring names Wild Bill Irvin, Super Destroyer #1, the Black Scorpion, and, of course, the Goon. There really isn't much of note about Bill Irwin from 1979 up until his WWF debut in 96. He just bounced around various Southern and Texas-based indie promotions. His biggest matches were jobbing out for the WCW in the late 80s and early 90s whenever they would pass through his territory. The pinnacle of his career was being defeated by Davey Boy Smith in Smith's WCW debut at Super Brawl 3. In 1996, he signed with the WWF and began working as the gimmick wrestler The Goon, a hockey character who was kicked out of every league he ever participated in. This was clearly a joke from the start, and Irwin would only stay with the company for just over 6 months, losing every single one of his matches in the WWF, even losing to Duke the Dumpster on Duke's way out the door.
Oh, man.
His last match with the WWF was at a house show on March 1st, 1997, losing to Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh.
After leaving the WWF, Bill went back to the indie circuit briefly before retiring. He did come out of retirement in 2001 to compete in the WWE Gimmick Battle Royale. This seems to be a common thing of late. Irwin did have a somewhat recent appearance in an interview with Donovan Nicholson of Hannibal TV in June 2021. His interview was supposed to last an hour long. However, Irwin showed up clearly drunk, and the interview only lasted 17 minutes before Nicholson threw him out of the interview, telling Irwin to go to hell and calling him a worthless drunk.
Jeez.
I didn't really get into his time at the indies during the 80s and 90s. Really not much at all, but there just wasn't much information I could find. After I give his record, you will see that he had a shit ton of matches, just none that were worth writing about, apparently. The Goon's record was 400 wins, 693 losses, and 122 draws.
Jeez.
What a fucking number of draws there.
Yeah.
Wow. What a jobber.
I gotta say, my most immediate reaction to that is I'm surprised he had some kind of wrestling experience prior to this match.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit to talk about that during the match, too.
I like that he was kicked out of several hockey leagues and an interview in 2021.
Not several, every hockey league.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this match. At the start of things, now keep in mind, this is Marc Mero, along with the Goon. While the Goon is gooning it up in the ring at the start of things here, having come down to that, maybe one of you guys can help me out with the real name of it, but it's that thing that they play at ballparks that's on the organ, like dun 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 dun.
It has a name.
Yeah, it's that generic sports arena tune that they didn't have to pay Jim Johnston to write and they could pick up for free with, open licensing. But anyway, as things get started here, Gorilla Monsoon is going to pop in to let us know that the Smoking Guns will be defending those belts later on tonight, or else.
And I'm sure that's the only interruption in this match.
But you want to talk about class personified. You want to talk about the WWF's 1-2 punch. And it's just a coincidence that whenever he says 1-2 punch, we get a nice view of Sable's very tight girdle. It's Sable. Oh, and coincidentally, the mild man Marc Mero is going to be here too.
Oh, he's there?
Well, what might have tipped you off to that fact is that apparently when he shows up, you can hear the call of the wild somewhere.
Oh.
Interesting.
I marked out when the Goon dropped his stick and gloves to go in and attack from behind. I don't know what it was about that, but it felt like a nice little treat. It was something authentic that this person was embracing the gimmick in such a way. Speaking of nice treats, Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be joining commentary for this match, and he starts his commentary off by referencing the can of whoop ass that he opened up on Marc Mero last night.
Did you guys see what he was wearing?
Yeah, that black vest.
Yep.
We're getting all the pieces falling into place.
Yeah.
In the ring, the Goon so far at this point in my notes is a terrible fucking wrestler, or he's just got a terrible style. Maybe it was those boots that they tried to make look like skates that ended up just looking like platform boots. And yeah, the mild man doesn't help. Standing by, though, I mean, if you want a little bit of excitement, we've got Jake the Snake Roberts on the phone. And yes, that was just a joke because, in all seriousness, it took this match even lower. The split screen on Jerry Lawler's face to hit Jake with one-liners, that is where this match just got completely destroyed for me. I thought that was going to be the low light of this match. But, I mean, in general, we didn't need that split screen to help things along the old shit train because the mild man and the Goon definitely weren't earning any match of the year recommendations here. Between Lawler and Austin, they do call Mero the mild man a couple of times, and I'm wondering if maybe we should do an IP suit on that since we've influenced the business yet again. The match, botch fest, right up to and including the deliciously poetic part where the Goon slips on the icing that's still laying all over the mat on the floor outside, causing himself to slide and crash into the ring stairs.
Icing, get it?
Yes.
Icing?
Yeah.
Oh.
The fucking Goon could barely stand up to get back in the ring. He could not get his feet between those shitty boots and the cake icing everywhere. But once he does get back in the ring, the mild man wins with a leg drop. Again, icing everywhere. I can't overstate that. They didn't even bother to try to clean the shit up for whenever Sonny got creamed. And this match is then over. While it was certainly one of the worst matches I have ever seen, for me personally, it almost kind of rises to the status of so bad it's good in a purely just kind of comic way. Between the botches, those fucking ring boots that the Goon was wearing, they're meant to look like skates, but they're actually just dangerously high and asking to break an ankle. There was icing everywhere that nobody bothered to clean up. It's just a train wreck. It was a train wreck from start to finish that I couldn't look away from. Ryan, please, what did you think of this match?
Wow, what a pair of terrible gimmicks in the ring here. I mean, you have the mild man and a hockey player. I mean, that's it. Just a fucking hockey player who's got hockey equipment on. The boots, you talked about these boots, and they weren't just high platformed to look like hockey skates. They tapered as well. And because of that, this guy just fucking tripped around the ring the whole time because he couldn't get his footing. He was on these ridiculous, stupid gimmick boots. The gimmick itself is hindering this guy's in-ring capability. And thankfully, we have Stone Cold at ringside because Stone Cold is throwing out a golden nugget a minute here during his talking. He starts off, we get the can of whip-ass line finally out of him. After that, he starts into a pretty good promo on Bret Hart, calling himself the real excellence of execution. And I think this may be a little bit early for their feud, but it definitely made me remember the great feud that we're going to get between them very soon. So that was good to see. And then you think that we're going to pay attention to the match again, and then immediately back with Jake the Snake. From there, though, the King pulls out a bottle of Jim Beam, and I have to say, I enjoyed his line saying that this is Jake's next tag team partner. I thought that was a pretty good line. And then Vince interrupts Stone Cold, and he fires off on Vince. The next time you interrupt me like that, I'll reach over there and slap those silly glasses off your face. And I think this is the most Stone Cold-like talking out of him that we've got.
Yeah.
Like, he is definitely 100% into the Texas rattlesnake gimmick now. I mean, he's just cussing out everyone, pissed off at the world. This is the Stone Cold that we remember. And that's really the only highlight of the match is Stone Cold, because you pointed out it's a fucking botch fest. I mean, there's one botched move after another. Mero botches a hurricanrana and kicks the Goon right in his fucking face. And I thought he might have needed stitches like Austin because it looked bad. And then the ending with all of the icing and the mild man actually getting the victory. I mean, what a fucking disaster of a match. I don't know. If it wasn't for Stone Cold there, this thing would have been completely unredeemable.
Well, it's a good thing that the Goon didn't need stitches, or else we would have got 3 more fucking matches like this.
Well, you two should be ashamed of yourselves talking about the Goon like this. Yeah, this is bad. I mean, I don't have much more to add. The Sable and Marc Mero entrance is so fucking weird to me. They're still doing that weird shit at the beginning, like when they get in the ring. I don't get it. Jerry Lawler had a good line. He said, "Why would the Rangers sign Gretzky when they could have had the Goon?" Austin on commentary, some pretty good stuff here. Ryan, you pointed out a couple nice things. He's getting pretty mouthy with Vince, which is always funny. And we talked about the vest, too. So, that's going to become a staple. Like you said, we're kind of seeing he's kind of ditching that Iceman gimmick and going towards the Texas rattlesnake gimmick now. So that's good to see. And the boots on the Goon are just, what were they thinking? My God. I mean, how did he not roll his ankles?
They were thinking, we don't give a fuck about this guy's ankles.
And it's just weird because, we finally get rid of Duke the Dumpster and Mantar and some other stupid shit. But now we're bringing in TL Hopper and the Goon and some other stupid shit. So it's just pretty disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that we got to see it at least, because
it was an experience.
Yeah.
And Vince tells us that we're getting Austin and The Undertaker again next week on Raw.
And then he cut a beautiful promo on The Undertaker. I mean, he was just fucking beautiful on the mic tonight.
I just think it's wild that, 2 or 3 years from now, that's a WrestleMania headliner, type match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to think of it while you guys were talking, and I'm pretty sure this is the most amount of sass that has ever been directed at Vince McMahon. I mean, Jerry Lawler has some things here and there that he says, like with Cornette, they joke around about the toupee, and There was one or two times where Randy Savage, whenever he was still on commentary, got a little bit maybe frustrated, would be a good way of putting it. But this is just blatant, I will slap the glasses off of your head.
There was stuff that I really liked that Diesel was doing towards the end of his run.
Yeah, good call there.
Outside of that, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's really no one that really threatens him, threatens to kick his ass.
One of the few people that raises their voice to him and kind of behaves this way is Austin's former tag partner. I mean, it's not to the level of slapping glasses off faces, but where's my goddamn money is a pretty aggressive statement. Well, backstage now with Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson. Shawn was quite pleased with himself after being hosed down. He was covered in icing, remember? And Shawn takes it upon himself to speak for Ahmed, even when Vince addresses Ahmed. I'm not sure what that was about. Ahmed didn't look very invested in things. He looked like he was just kind of there. That got us to a commercial now, though. It's time for the Stridex SummerSlam Sweepstakes. The grand prize here being a trip to WWF pay-per-view with room and board included. Pretty sure airfare was included in that too. And of course, all you need to do is submit your life's information to the WWF. Social security number, address, birth date, all that good stuff to be entered. There are just a couple new ways of doing that here this time, though. Instead of mailing in a 5x7 note card with all of this shit written on it, you can also submit formally printed versions at some pharmacy chain that I don't remember what the name of it is and barely remembered it at the time. As we come back to the ring, we see that Bob Backlund's in the arena, up in the cheap seats, arguing with some fans. So, of course, I have to ask, Ryan, is this a pro or con? But also, what did you think about Shawn's brief promo and the SummerSlam sweepstakes?
Well, starting with the brief promo, it was kind of a standard Shawn Michaels promo, though he did bring up that Sonny doesn't get any action except from the Heartbreak Kid.
Oh.
Yeah, the SummerSlam commercial, Stridex thing. This is the typical lead-in stuff we get for the big-name pay-per-view events, so pretty standard there as well. And Bob Backlund, again, seen but not heard. And it was short and sweet. He's getting these teenagers all worked up in the crowd. Good job there. So it's another fucking positive. Bobby's racking them up.
All right, just a second here. Just get that marked. Okie dokie, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I guess the only thing I have to add is that it was popular to poke fun at Bob Dole in the summer of 1996. Because there were a couple Bob Dole jokes there.
All right. Well, as if there wasn't enough shit-kicking hillbilly music in the WWF already, let's go now into our next match. Mankind defeats Freddie Joe Floyd by submission in 3 minutes and 51 seconds. But let's slow down for a second. Let's not focus on the match right away. Let's go backstage to a scene where Clarence Mason is arguing with Gorilla Monsoon on whether or not Mason's new client should be allowed to wrestle. And since Mason's new candidate was never convicted, I guess we're just going to be moving forward with this candidate and his application with us. That's the most we get out of that scene, because back in the ring, Mankind was making his way down, and let's just take a brief pause to look at the international incident last night where Mankind had some relevance to the finish of The Undertaker's match with Goldust. When the match finally gets started, Mankind lays in some solid elbows, but things quickly deteriorate as Freddie Joe Floyd tries to pull off a top rope maneuver without looking to see where he's going. Mankind easily sidesteps it. Vince then calls Freddie Joe a tactician. The leg drop on the apron from Mankind looked good. Vince reminds us that the Boiler Room Brawl is a thing that we're going to get to see sometime soon. Freddie Joe does manage to get off some quick pin attempts following a decent rally, but that doesn't last very long as Mankind gets tired of toying with Freddie Joe and applies the mandible claw. Once again, the soothing music calms Mankind enough to let go of Freddie Joe Floyd, giving us a final shriek of "Undertaker!" as he begins his exit. This match wasn't too bad, as short as it was. At least people here weren't slipping in icing, despite the fact that it was still fucking everywhere. Joe, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I didn't think there was really anything too exciting here. To start out, I did think that the music was the Godwins at first, when we first heard it. But it's Freddie Joe Floyd, who is Tracy Smothers. I like Tracy Smothers. I'm glad he had success with ECW later on, but this persona just seems pretty bland. I mean, there's really, I don't know, it just seems kind of like Southern 80s to me. Freddie Joe Floyd, whatever that's supposed to be. Mick Foley, Mankind, he's given us a good match, selling great like he always does for those short offensive bursts from Freddie Joe Floyd, and Mankind gets dangerously close to hitting his face off that post all the time. I get a little nervous every time I watch it.
I'm going to start off with, you were wondering where this name comes from, Freddie Joe Floyd, and I came across this when I was looking up for Jobber of the Week. I was deciding between him and the Goon, and I decided on the Goon for a few reasons, but to start off, the Freddie Joe Floyd name is apparently a dig at the Briscoe brothers, and Floyd is billed to be from the Briscoe brothers' hometown as well. So his entire purpose here is to have a dig at a couple guys that work in the front office. So you know, you wonder how far someone with that type of gimmick could go, but the reason I didn't go with him is he does actually have a bit of a run. He even has a Intercontinental Championship run. He doesn't hold the belt, but I'm saying he has a match for it. And he has a series of matches against Hunter Hearst Helmsley, one of which he actually wins. So he is going to get a little bit better of a treatment than just a normal jobber does here. So I decided to not go with him. I don't have really much more to add because there wasn't anything much that happened in this match. It was very short, mostly Mankind taking over with the mandible claw and getting the win. The only thing I wanted to point out at the end is, as Mankind leaves, Brian Pillman makes his way down to the ring and sits at commentary for the next match. And when he does that, right behind him, you could see someone in the crowd holding up a sign saying, "He's hardcore." So it's just great to see that Mankind, or at least Mick Foley in this case, it has some fans there in the crowd.
That's good info about old Freddie Joe here. I knew him more as, Tracy Smothers in ECW, but I did not know that about his Intercontinental run. I look forward to maybe some better matches than this one. But as you said, Ryan, Brian Pillman was making his way down to commentary, and for better or worse, Pillman is going to be giving his color commentary, and to set himself up for that, he threatens to use the 7 words you can't say on TV, and very salaciously teases Vince about what he may or may not be saying on camera. The mild man, Marc Mero, is going to be taking on Vader on Raw next week. Oh boy. And as we go backstage to get a promo from him, I can't help but cringe going into this. Mero uses words like jungle and phrases like cat scratch fever, all highlighting the point that he's apparently some kind of jungle cat, I think, is what's going on here. But then the mild man quotes Jim Croce to tee up the next subject, which is Goldust's infatuation with Sable. Apparently Goldust has been sending sick notes and presents to Sable. This is setting up Goldust and the mild man at SummerSlam. Just as we go back to the ring, Pillman says he'd like to see Marlena and Sable go after each other's carpets. Joe, please, what did you think about Pillman's commentary here and the mild man's promo?
Is there anyone better on the mic than Brian Pillman right now? I don't know. Everything he says is amazing to me. And he says that about the carpets, and then he was talking about, he's like, I got to be careful about what I say about Barry Horowitz.
I don't want to be misconstrued.
Yeah. He says Goldust is building a harem, and that he wants to be a talent scout.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And during the 90s, the FCC was so quick to fine everybody for everything. So Vince has to be like a nervous wreck when Pillman is there. I loved this. And Barry Horowitz, his cock almost came out during the curtain call. Goldust, he grabbed his tights really hard. I thought he was going to tear his tights off later.
I thought Pillman was great, like you highlighted there, Joe. I mean, everything he is saying on the mic right now is hilarious, and Vince has to be shitting his pants, almost everything that comes out of his mouth. But the mild man's promo here, some of the weakest stuff we've seen from him as far as promos go. His trying to shoehorn in the wild man phrases is sad, and then he decides to just quote, "Don't mess around with Jim" at the end here with Goldust. So pretty lame out of him, that's for sure.
Nothing like some 70s AM easy listening music to really get people riled up. Well, things here in the arena have gone golden as we go into our next match. Goldust defeats Barry Horowitz by pinfall in 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Goldust kicks this off with some aggression. Things are looking good to start. Obviously, Barry Horowitz is no slouch as a former Intercontinental Championship contender, so he manages to hold his own here. The big star here, though, Pillman. Pillman was so fucking absorbing on commentary as we moved through these segments, both the previous one and this one. I was just so focused on what Pillman was going to say next that it was almost impossible to pay attention to the match. And then the match was over, all 2 minutes of it. And my biggest takeaway here was when Vince had commented in split screen that nobody knows what Pillman might say, and Pillman, with a straight face, turns to Vince, stares at him, and says the truth. I popped my ass off for that. Such a small moment, a short moment, but just impactful. The finish to this match was just as intense as the start, with Goldust aggressively hitting the curtain call and fiercely tying up Horowitz, almost power humping Horowitz with every count of the referee until the bell rang. This match was par for the course in this weird episode of Raw we've had so far tonight. Ryan, what did you think of it?
Yeah, the highlight was Pillman. This match starts off very fast and hard with Goldust just taking it to Horowitz and Horowitz making it look good, which is no surprise. He's the epitome of a jobber here, and he always does a good job. Sadly, for Horowitz at least, this is an extremely short match. Goldust pretty much annihilates poor Barry, and he hits the curtain call for the finish. I like seeing Goldust like this. Goldust in this aggressive, pissed off mentality. I think he puts up some really good matches during this, and I thought this was a good way to continue to make Goldust look very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I got ahead of myself earlier because the highlight for me was Pillman's commentary, and this match was only, what'd you say, 2 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Barry's cock almost came out. So
the highlight.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, it just... I tend to agree, and I almost wonder if we can chalk this up to our reaching back in time and influencing the business yet again, because wasn't it just last night that we were, last night in our, watching order, but at the international incident, we were talking about how much we were getting really annoyed with Goldust's chicken shit heel stuff, and here we have a complete 180. We have ruthless aggression. Well, guys, let's go backstage now to the Smoking Guns. They're going to be there with Sonny. Sonny cuts a pretty decent promo, considering the circumstances at least. But then Billy and Bart chime in.
Especially Bart.
Man.
Oh, poor Bart.
Not quite as entertaining.
No wonder they put Sonny with these guys. Jeez.
When Bart started talking, it was almost like a parody of a bad actor. And just how he was just like, "Oh, we're gonna hit you guys."
Both of them are just big dumb animals.
Well, speaking of, let's go to the Supersize Stridex Slam of the Week. And in this segment, we get a handful of things that could be the slam of the week, but I'm guessing that the real slam of the week was that big dumb animal Vader hitting a Vader bomb on Shawn Michaels from their match at the pay-per-view last night. In the ring, Vince McMahon is there, all mic'd up and ready to go with Vader and Jim Cornette to talk about their upcoming championship match at SummerSlam against Shawn Michaels. Cornette cuts a pretty good promo here, talking up Vader, while Vader does his thing there for the cameras. I'm not even sure what to call it anymore. It's Vader woofing around, because that's pretty much what he does, is he moves around and gets in and out of camera angles, and he woofs and he grunts and he does all kinds of faces, and he halfway sticks his tongue out and he goes at the camera. And I mean, it's entertaining in small doses, and it's kind of nice to see Vader, I don't know, not taking himself too seriously, but at the same time, maybe he should be taking himself a little more seriously than he does. I don't know. As they finish up, we cut to commercial, and we get that Olympic SummerSlam commercial again. I'm still on the fence about that, but it is entertaining seeing Ahmed Johnson blast through those track hurdles like a pink-shirted bodyguard. Before we move on, Ryan, what did you think about the promos we got in this segment?
Well, we've already touched on the Sonny Billy Bart promo. Pretty hilarious stuff out of Bart, especially in that. And then we move through the Stridex Slam of the Week, and then the Cornette Vader interview. All pretty standard fare stuff here. We're kind of used to seeing Cornette come out here. He talks up Vader, and Vader huffs around and does the Mastodon thing in the ring. And then we get the Olympic SummerSlam commercial that Bartlett hates. Just a bunch of little quick segments here to wrap this segment up.
Yeah, Sonny said that she nursed Billy back to health, but she didn't say how she did that. I wonder what she did. I'll just skip to the Vader and Jim Cornette piece here. Cornette cuts his standard promo. I like that they're using the bully angle, making Vader out to be this bully. I think that works. It would be nice to hear Vader say something other than doing all this grunting and shit that he does, but
we don't even really get Vader time out of him.
No, we don't get anything other than that grunting and shit. So I don't know. I mean, it's okay. Jim Cornette's a pretty good mouthpiece, so it still works.
Yeah, agreed. If we're going to have to listen to Jim Cornette, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I like Jim Cornette. I'm a fan. But this is his proper environment. Him and a non-talking heel that he can talk for, not an entire fucking stable. Well, we're going to go now into our final match of the night. Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson defeat the Smoking Guns with Sonny via disqualification in 11 minutes and 38 seconds, and because it is a disqualification victory, the Smoking Guns will retain the WWF Tag Team Championships. Things start off with an attempt at a run-in, but that really just tees up some time for Sonny and Shawn to flirt with each other. Once the actual action gets going, it doesn't look too bad. Billy Gunn was working really well with Shawn Michaels, but when Shawn puts Billy out of the ring, that means it's time to stall for a little bit. When Vince McMahon references the tape on Ahmed's broken nose, Jerry Lawler says he thought it was sunscreen at first, but then what would Ahmed need that for?
Oh
boy.
Oof is exactly what I had next to that. Ahmed gets tagged in and starts laying into Billy Gunn. The work wasn't looking all that bad here. After a commercial break, we come back to Billy in control of Shawn, tagging in Bart, and then Ahmed gets mixed in. Billy Gunn was the star here in a lot of ways for me, not just the way that he was working, but the little details. At one point when Ahmed was whipping Billy to the ropes, Billy yelled, "Oh shit!" as he moved across the ring. It was nice to see some chain moves from the Guns. That's one of the things that's bugged me the most about their heel turn. We've talked about that in past episodes in the archives recently. The Guns just don't wrestle as well as heels, but they managed to make a little bit of an adjustment here. Shawn working with the Guns took up most of the time in this match, which was good because they were all working together really well. We got a commercial break for the Superstars line. Dial option 6 to find out if SummerSlam will be The Undertaker's last match in the WWF. How clickbaity was that? Back in the ring, the Guns continue to work on Shawn Michaels, but you just can't pin the most resilient champion in WWF history. The hot tag to Ahmed Johnson was good, but things got just a teensy botched up as if they were waiting for something to happen. But then it does. I said, what the fuck out loud, because I had forgotten where we were in the timeline. Out of nowhere, a man in teal and black spandex and a floppy silver helmet comes down and attacks Ahmed Johnson mercilessly. We have no indication of who this is from anyone present in the arena, although on commentary, Jerry Lawler does say that he looks a lot like Ron Simmons, but bigger than Ron Simmons. This person that is Ron Simmons but not Ron Simmons, Sonny is going to lead him up and out the entryway, and this named yet unnamed person is apparently going to be there with Sonny as a manager as we fade to black. I was at a bit of a loss by the end of this episode, and this match and its finish maintained that feeling. Joe, what did you think about this match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
I thought the match was just okay. I didn't think it was very good or bad, really. I mean, the work was just okay. I always have high expectations out of Shawn Michaels and Billy Gunn, but it's just kind of mediocre to me. It's never anything as flashy as I think it should be or would be. Billy Gunn kept applying like these awkward, lazy covers during this match. I don't know if there was just miscommunication there or what was going on. And I didn't I guess they kind of recycled this angle from the night before where the referee misses the hot tag. I didn't really care for that because I thought it kind of killed the crowd a little bit because they were excited to see Shawn finally tag Ahmed Johnson, and then, nope, referee didn't see it. So now it just kind of kills it. Jose Lothario, though, I got to give him some credit for once because he was being a manager and came up and complained to the ref about the tag, missing the tag. So he was being somewhat useful. Ron Simmons comes out. This outfit is absolutely horrible. I watched his Broken Skull sessions last week, and him and Steve Austin get a nice laugh out of that. He said that when Vince presented this to him, he was thinking it was going to be like a gladiator, like metal.
Yeah, like a Roman gladiator.
Yeah, like a Roman gladiator helmet, and it's this shit.
Not some Techno Team 2000 gladiator.
Yeah. We know what's going to come out of this, so, I mean, it's definitely something to look forward to. And it was nice to see Pat Patterson come out, too, and get involved.
Yeah.
I thought this was a pretty solid match. I'm probably a little bit more in Bartlett's camp. I thought that the guys were looking pretty good together, and a lot of it had to do with Billy and Bart, like you also said, starting to bring their chain moves back in here and adapting them a little bit. One of them looked pretty good where they worked together to pick up Shawn Michaels and drop him throat first on the top rope. I thought that looked pretty good. And then there was a spot where Bart whips Michaels into the corner, and we've seen this out of Michaels many, many times, where he slams into the turnbuckle and rolls up the turnbuckle and out of the ring, but this may have been one of his best. Yeah. It looked extremely violent. I mean, it was it was good looking. I mean, the pain pills definitely were going to be in effect tonight because the back had to be sore after that one. Another really good chain move, there was a spot where Billy, he runs and it looks like he runs up Bart's back and then does this flying punch into Michael's face, and it looked like a superhero punch or something. It was just done really, really well. But then Ron Simmons comes down in his ridiculous futuristic gladiator outfit and just beats the shit out of Ahmed, manhandles him like we have not seen before. and causes the disqualification. So little bit of a confusing ending. We never saw this guy before. Apparently he's with Sonny. I'm pumped to see him just because I know Ron Simmons and what he's going to bring to the game here. But I do have to think if he's starting a feud with Ahmed Johnson, that we have to be getting to the point where Ahmed is going to injure him and then he's going to be gone for 6 months before he comes back in and basically retires Ahmed Johnson when he comes back. So I'm a little bit sad knowing that even though we're going to see him, he's going to be gone just as quick as he came. So that's a little disappointing.
Yeah, I can't remember which organ it was, but something inside Ron Simmons gets lacerated.
Yeah, it's like liver or kidney or something. Yeah. Couldn't agree more on all of that. The way that I kind of saw Ron Simmons was as an attempt at another Sub-Zero or Mortal Kombat style character, with the exception of that floppy, spangly silver helmet. Ugh, so terrible.
So bad.
So terrible.
For someone like him, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Simmons is a legit badass.
And even with the ridiculous outfit, when he is standing next to Ahmed, he looks like a fucking tank.
Yeah.
Especially those fucking legs of his. They're like goddamn tree trunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could have went with like I don't know why they thought that this looked like a gladiator, but I mean, if they would have maybe done even like a Snuka loincloth kind of thing with maybe just an armless top or something, I don't know. Almost anything would have looked better than this.
Or a helmet that actually resembled a gladiator helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the good news is he'll shake it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
I'm really looking, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but I'm really looking forward to the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, as I said, that was the end of our episode. So let's take it on now to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you go first, please?
So, the low light, I mean, there could be only one low light in the Marc Mero Goon match. There were ugly botches, left and right, and this gimmick is just absolutely ridiculous. No question that match was my low light tonight. And my highlight was Stone Cold Steve Austin on commentary during that match. We're getting the Stone Cold we've come to love, and the fact that he called Mark the mild man after months and months of us calling him that, it had to be my highlight.
Mine are very similar. I'm going to go with Brian Pillman on commentary as my highlight, and my low light is just the Goon. I mean, it's a terrible gimmick. Those terrible boots are handicapping him, and he's just not a good wrestler.
Yeah, I'm going to start with my highlight, which was Pillman on commentary. Fantastic shit there, pal. But then my lowlight, I hate to be this broad about it, but my lowlight was almost everything else about this episode. There were a couple things that are accepted there. I mean, the tag match to close us out, except for the finish, was pretty decent, but really overall, this entire episode, just what a clusterfuck of storytelling. All right, well, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around July 22nd, 1996 for us?
I do. Raise your hand if you want to hear more about the Goon.
That's me, hand raised, right here.
Well, Dave Meltzer says the Goon gimmick has a good look to it, but he looked worse than awful in house shows over the weekend. He looked a little better here, but still pretty bad.
Ooh, I'd hate to see that house show.
Yeah.
There is some controversy with the gimmick. We learned that the Goon was a character played by Bill Irwin during Ryan's Jobber of the Week segment. However, apparently an Ontario-based wrestler named Scott D'Amore sent in the idea of being a hockey goon as a gimmick to WWF, complete with costume sketches not that long ago, and never got called back. And then he saw what he claims to be his ideas on Bill Irwin on TV.
Huh.
Dave Meltzer points out that this is not the first time something like this has
I was
happened.
going to say, I think I've heard this story before.
He gives advice to young wrestlers. If you have a gimmick you think is a great idea, trademark it before giving the idea to a major wrestling promotion.
Good advice.
Scott D'Amore. That sounds familiar.
Scott D'Amore, yeah.
Scott D'Amore has trained quite a few of the jobbers that we've talked about.
Okay.
Do you guys know who Clarence Mason's guy is?
I did not. I was trying to think. But
Was that Nails?
All right, I will not spoil anything for you because it's going to be too good. I don't want to mess anything up.
I was thinking, or no, wait, Nails was bald. If I get it right, will you tell me?
I'll give you one more guess. Go ahead.
Was it Crush?
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Oh, fuck me. So they're saying he didn't technically go to jail for the steroid stuff he got caught
So
with?
they're
I
basically
can't
bringing
believe
his real life shit into
can't
storyline. This way, in storyline, the WWF can claim it was that dirty lawyer who forced them to take Crush back, who was busted in real life for steroids and weapons possession.
Oh my God, brudda.
You know, it's odd to hear from JR has brought this up on occasion. The reason why Crush keeps on getting these second chances is because apparently he was good friends with The Undertaker, and The Undertaker kept on trying to get him back in. I think that's the first thing that I have to ding against The Undertaker that I know of.
Yeah, I think this might be Biker Crush that's going to be coming in here. So
Terrible.
yeah. Bartlett, you mentioned this. They mentioned this on the show tonight. The WWF got cold feet on the lesbian angle between Marlena and Sable, so now they're saying that Goldust is actually the one who has the hots for Sable.
Pillman didn't forget, though.
No. Dave Meltzer gave our tag team match tonight 3.25 stars, so he enjoyed it. And he did say that Ron Simmons was, quote, dressed up like an Egyptian.
What?
That's what he says in the magazine.
Okay.
I mean, I can understand his confusion, but I'm not sure I'd go Egyptian.
Yeah.
I would not either. Rumors are floating that the Iron Sheik will be coming in as a manager. So that is something to possibly look forward to. And you know a name that we haven't heard in a long time that is very disappointing? Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
Where the hell has he been? He just signed a 3-year contract and is expected that they will renew his push and discontinue his burial. Please bring him back. We could use him right now. And that is all.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on July 29th, 1996, with matches featuring Psycho Sid, the British Bulldog, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.